Good day, I'm Rocky, and this presentation is about the Wotofo profile, build, wick, and squonk. You've seen all the reviews on the profile, so I'm not going to cover that or any pros and cons. I'll be using the provided mesh coils, or coil sheets as Wotofo calls them, and also the provided Wotofo cotton wick. And I will be adjusting the resistance on the coil sheet. To start out with, we take one of the coil sheets and bend it around the provided coiling tool that they have. That puts it in the right shape to fit on the deck. And I'll install this on the deck and glow it twice to check the resistance and set the resistance on the coil mesh. I found that especially using stainless steel mesh, even though this is Kanthal, but with most all mesh coils, if you don't glow them to begin with and set the resistance, they're going to fluctuate once you put them into use, and you'll find the resistance may lower in the process. This one's reading 28. We'll flash it twice once I put the power to it. And they come up quick. It does ramp up quick. You can see it's dropped to 22. That's okay. I prefer it a little bit higher. In fact, when I adjust the resistance on these coils, if I'm not doing it quick and down and dirty like this, I will trim them back until I get them to round 3. The way I do that, adjust the resistance to bring it up, is to trim the width. I found that if you trim the width of a coil, it will raise the resistance, and that's true for all mesh coils. You can do two things to them. You can leave them as is, you can shorten them, which will lower the resistance, or you can trim the width of them and raise the resistance. And if in doubt, do it just a little bit of it at a time, reinstall it, and reflash it or glow it, and double check it. And although you're trimming the width, it doesn't seem to affect the performance, although it does glow quicker. It ramps up quicker. But as far as vapor production and flavor, I've not noticed any difference. As you can see, installing the mesh in this profile RDA is just too simple. Couldn't be easier unless you got somebody to do it for you. And now this one's up to 26. That's closer to what I like. And I need to put a new battery in my 521 mini tab. It's a little low. Now, putting the wick in, because we trimmed the coil itself, one side of it is going to be original and smooth, and the other side is going to be jagged. So I make sure to install the wick, start it on the smooth side. As you'll see here, I'll pull it all the way through, end up using only the tail end or the last half of the wick. By doing that, I'll get another re-wicking out of this particular one. It'll be a little close. I was in a bit of a hurry for this one, but I'll get another wick out of it. Now roughly trim the ends, making sure I've got enough to work with. Then, rather than fluffing out the cotton, I'll squeeze the ends into a bow tie and spread it out. And this is in preparation for trimming the wick and taking away most of this cotton. I've seen a lot of reviews where the reviewers try to stuff all that cotton into the well, and it's just not needed. What is needed is enough in the well and across the bottom of that spring-loaded shelf to draw up the juice. And Wotofo, or Wotofo, has done their research on this. They provide, their wicks provide just the right amount of cotton to completely fill up the wick and relieve any hot spots, but also not so much that it slows down the wicking. Once this is finished, I'll get 10 good draws on it before I have to re-squonk it. But that's not a problem with the wick. It's more of a problem with the size of the RDA. We're working with a small device here, so it doesn't hold a lot of juice to begin with. And you can see by trimming that wick with a pair of flat cut pliers and scissors, I've taken out most of it and left just enough on the ends to keep the edges of the coil from hot spotting. And that's all that's needed. Once this is juiced up and the cotton starts to swell from capillary action, it will actually flare up on the ends, on the edges around that coil, and prevent any hot spots. And I've not had any problems with dry hits because I keep an eye on it, or hot spotting when I wick it like this. Now notice I didn't pluff out the cotton. I kept it in its original condition except for what I trimmed off, and I push that down on the wells. Once that soaks up, it keeps a good supply of juice coming into the wick directly underneath the coil. It also lengthens the amount of time or the draws between having to squonk on it. Give it a little haircut, trim it up, make it look a little neater. And this is what we end up with. Using just enough cotton to get the job done, but not so much that it looks like it's overstuffed. I'm not one to run long blistering wattages on my builds. Even with round coils or hammered flat wire coils, which I use a lot, I keep my builds normally around 0.3, 0.25 up to 0.3, sometimes a little bit higher, depending on the addy and the mod I have it on. The vapor looks a little weak here because my battery's low on the 521 mini tab. Once I switch it over to my Wick Squonk mod, put 50 watts on it, which is where I like it, it'll wake up pretty quick. Now if you notice the red seals on the base, it originally comes with black seals, but I thought they were a little bit too loose for me, and also it had a tendency to weep on the bottom of the RDA. Those red seals are 18 millimeters by 1 millimeter thick, made by UXELL, They're silicone seals. And you'll see me take this cap off and put it on. I have to fiddle with it a little bit because they are just a little bit tighter. But they have cut down considerably on the weeping from the bottom of the top cap. Fire up the Wick Squonk mod, it says 25. That's what was on it before. Back it off. Make it reset itself. And it comes out at 26. And with Kanthal, it'll stay there. If this were, say, 500 mesh stainless steel, it might fluctuate just a bit, but not a whole ohm, maybe a couple of tenths. And you can see by the squonking action, there's just enough cotton in there to let the juice well fill up and also wick directly into that coil. I like this little RDA. It's a good move and it's well designed. And this is what it looks like when it's finished. And that's all I have for this presentation. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, if you learned something, please subscribe. There'll be more in the future. And as always, be safe and have a vape day.